KwaZulu-Natal Premier Nomusa Dube-Ncube set to deliver her maiden State of the Province address tomorrow, and this comes amid a number of issues that the province has been dealing with, including the recent floods. The Democratic Alliance says it's not expecting anything from the address, as the ANC will continue to let the people of KwaZulu-Natal down. Well, let's get some analysis now and a way to preview the Premier's speech tomorrow. And we're joined by political scientist Dr. Mlungisi Phakathi. He is attached to the University of South Africa, Unisa in short. Dr. Phakathi, good morning to you and thanks for your time. The Democratic Alliance there, I mean, it's in the nature of the opposition to criticize the governing party of the day. But are they completely off the mark when they say the people of KZN should not really anticipate much given the failures of the ANC?
Good morning, sir, and good morning to the viewers or the listeners at home. Of course, you have started correctly. It is the nature of opposition parties not only to oppose what the ruling party does, but also to come up with alternatives to what the ruling party does. Unfortunately, I have not heard that statement by the Democratic Alliance, but I'm sure that they have their reasons why they are saying that. But perhaps as citizens, what we should be more interested in, because we can see the problems ourselves, but what we are interested in more is what are the alternative solutions, and where the DA governs in KwaZulu-Natal, those solutions are being implemented. We know that after the November 2011 elections, the Democratic Alliance won some municipalities, including Umsunduzi in Pietermaritzburg. That is where, in Mlungisi district, that is where we should gauge whether what they criticize in the ANC is not also a fault in them.
Yeah. Dr. Phakathi, we're going to focus in a moment about the very visible issues that KZN has had to be faced with in the last couple of months. In picture right now, as I talk to you, it is the Premier of the province, clad in traditional gear, and that's because the Zulu monarch, King Misuzulu Kazultini, is going to officially open the legislature today. Talk to us about this relationship between the traditional leadership in KZN and the government of the day. There has been friction in the last couple of years.
Yes, yeah, you can have that view, but we know for a fact that KwaZulu-Natal is one of those provinces which prioritizes or respects the institution of royal leadership or traditional leadership in the province. And you know that unlike in other provinces, KwaZulu-Natal has Isilo, which is a king over other kings. So every time when the legislature is being opened, the Isilo is called to say a word. You will remember that last year, Misuzulu came when the session was already going, and then the Premier at that time, Sihle Zikalala, was speaking. You will remember that many people did not expect that, because at that time he had not received his certificate from President Ramaphosa. But we know now that that has since happened, and that his presence there was justified by the actions of President Ramaphosa by giving him a certificate. But we also know that there are contestations within the royal family, and there is a case in the Pretoria High Court that was launched by the current Isilo, the Isilo that is recognized by the President of South Africa according to legislation, by his brother, King or Mntwana or Prince Simagade, to say that he actually is the one who was supposed to receive the certificate because the family or some section of the family chose him.
Yeah.
But the Isilo that is recognized by President Ramaphosa through the process of certification, King Misuzulu, has said that, he will not stop working because there are these issues in the courts. He will continue to sit in his father's throne and then do the duties of Isilo.
Perhaps a more relevant question, Dr. Phakathi, is how has this relationship between the traditional leadership and the government of the day in KZN benefited the residents of KwaZulu-Natal?
Yes, of course. Remember that the institution of traditional leadership or royal leadership in South Africa in general is supposed to, according to the constitution, to work hand in hand, particularly at the local level of government, to solve all the issues that the communities face. And you'll remember that it is not only the royal family that is part of these institutions. You also have, for example, as I've said, you have Isilo, and then you have the chiefs, and then you have the headmen or Izinduna, who all play a role in the local level in terms of governing the lives of the people there, making sure that if people want land to build their houses, they get that land, they are introduced to the community, and if they want land for farming, they get land for farming. But perhaps, now speaking about land for farming, perhaps what has been a problem, particularly you will see this in case law, is that the Ingonyama Trust, for example, has given land to people, for example, people of Indian descent, for business purposes, to the detriment of local people who are supposed to be benefiting from the land. And those issues have been to court, and Ingonyama has lost those cases where it was proven that the Ingonyama is using land to benefit people who are not supposed to be benefiting from the land, because it is very clear that the land that is under Ingonyama Trust is for the nation of AmaZulu and all the people who fall under the different surnames that fall under, or the different clans that fall under the House of Zulu. Yeah.
Given that today is almost the King's Day, if you like, him officially opening the legislature, this is going to be his maiden speech. Perhaps tomorrow we'll focus the attention more on the service delivery issues. But given that the spotlight is on King Misuzulu, a very unflattering article came out this past Sunday, published by one of the broadsheets. It's a newspaper, the City Press. And a video has since surfaced upon which that article was based. And this particular audio clip, if it is indeed the king that is heard there, of course, I don't think we have had any communique from the royal house about the king possibly distancing himself from this. But if it is indeed the voice of the king that is heard there, threatening violence at not just the person that the king allegedly was in the relationship with, but also the person that seems to be related to the lady in question, how does that affect his image at a time when the country is battling with gender-based violence?
Yeah, and unfortunately, sir, I cannot comment about that because it's the first time that I'm hearing about it, because it seems to be something that falls in the domestic sphere of the king. But what I can say is that the government of KwaZulu-Natal, the South African government, and the Zulu royal family has come out very strongly against gender-based violence. In fact, King Misuzulu's father actually was very strong against those men who abuse children and abuse women. And So if I don't think that it would be in line with the teachings of the South African state, the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and the Zulu royal family itself. If anyone abuses women, because these days is one of the major issues in the country. Even if you go buy groceries, you'll find that writing on your plastic bag that gender-based violence must stop. But I'm not saying I don't know anything about that story. But what I can say is that the Zulu royal family has been very strong against those people who abuse women and who abuse children, and particularly when King Mlungisi himself. Now, this is related to just the role of protection that the Zulu royal family wants African men to play in society. He mentioned that there is now a resurgence of abductions of people who are living with this condition called albinism for multi-purposes. And when they are being sold or sales are being made, they are being called springbok or antelope, whatever, but they are being called, they are wild animals, so that they can be sold and then they can be killed and then their bodies can be used for multi-purposes. The king has come out strongly against that and said, if you know anyone who does those things, who targets these albino people, then you must report them to your local chief so that he can be dealt with. That's my understanding of King Mlungisi's approach towards the protection of the vulnerable.
Dr. Mlungisi Phakathi, political scientist attached to Unisa, thank you very much for your time. When we